Hey everybody, happy Tuesday. This is Sports Fanatic News. I'm Joe Boric, and this is a video on the NFL Power Rankings. Well, some of the power rankings adjusted this week because of the huge upset of the Miami Dolphins beating the Patriots, the Steelers pulling out a win, and then the Eagles having Carson Wentz go down. The ESPN Power Rankings were the Steelers, Patriots, Eagles, Rams, Vikings, Saints, Panthers, Jags, Hawks, and Falcons. And then if we go to 15, because there's a couple teams that could move up very quickly, you have the Chargers, Ravens, Chiefs, and Packers. Of those teams that are down to 14, 15's the Cowboys. I don't really see them moving up because they need Zeke to come back to really move up. And he's not back until next week, I believe. So, the teams I could see moving up into the top 10 because Rodgers, who like Stephen A. Smith said, Rodgers is a bad man. So, he's going to be back and we'll see what he can do for the Green Bay Packers. Because he is obviously the man, the beast, the legend. And in today's game, he is the best right now. Yeah, Tom Brady's a freak. But there's things Tom Brady dreams about doing that Aaron Rodgers can do, much like the Eagles quarterback who unfortunately got injured in Carson Wentz. They can move around the pocket, get away from pressure. Brady can still do that somewhat at his age, but obviously Aaron Rodgers can still run if he has to as well. And we saw last year the Packers ran the table to get into the playoffs, and now with Rodgers back, they have even a better chance to run the table to get into the playoffs. So we'll see what happens there. Now, my rankings are as follows. I put the Steelers at first. I put the two Pennsylvania teams in the top two. And like I said in a previous video, I think the Battle of Pennsylvania would be sick as hell in the Super Bowl. That would be a great game, a fun game, and a game of Pennsylvanians taking over Minnesota. So I put the Steelers as number one because the Steelers' offense, I hope, until someone like Joe Hayden comes back, can get them over the hump. Their secondary has looked pretty poor without having a veteran like Hayden back there. And we saw also praying for Ryan Shazier that he gets healthy first and foremost. And he's able to come back and play because no one wants to go out like that. It's a tough injury. It's a tough sport. But he FaceTimed the Steelers, which was great to see. It was great to see that moment that they had with the man Shazier. But they need, obviously, to get go. They need to be quicker at linebacker, and that showed last game when they got run around on a little bit without Shazier in the game. The Eagles are still number two. I would have put the Patriots at number two if the Patriots beat the Dolphins, but I think getting upset by the Dolphins has to mean something. And also, Tom Brady's only 7-9 against the Dolphins in his career, which was a surprising statistic. So I think getting upset by Miami has to mean something because especially if this was college football, that would be considered a bad loss. And in the NFL, they still do quality of schedule for a tiebreaker, so that would be considered a bad loss. So they're at number three. I keep the Eagles at number two because here is the reason why. Carson Wentz is injured, of course. But Nick Foles is by far one of the best backup quarterbacks in the NFL. And actually, of course, this was one season that he did better than his overall season. He has the best passer rating of any quarterback in Eagles history. Wentz is third. I believe Donovan is second. Might be Cunningham, but I think it's Donovan. I would have to check on that. But Foles has the first passer rating in the terms of the record books of the Eagles. And of course, I have to mix in the run more now. But like many analysts said, the Eagles defense combined with Clement, Blunt, and Ajayi can take over a game, and then Foles will just have to run some play actions, which he has been good at, and also just keep throwing the ball around well. And Foles also airs out the ball pretty well, and it's not a good sample size to go off of his Ram season because Jeff Fisher is a disease for quarterbacks. Look at what Case Keenum's doing this year out of Jeff Fisher's offense. Look at what Goff's doing out of Jeff Fisher's offense, and now you get a chance to see what Nick Foles will do out of Jeff Fisher's offense, and he looked pretty good when he came in last game. Patriots are third because their defense looked piss poor, to say the least, against the Miami Dolphins. They made Jay Cutler look like Tom Brady for the start of that game, and the Dolphins defense, which is at the bottom tier of the league, made Tom Brady look like Jay Cutler for the start of that game. The Vikings are ranked 4th. I put them ahead of the Rams because the Vikings defense is the real deal. Don't get me wrong, the Rams have a sick defense themselves, but the Vikings defense has carried them above and beyond the call of duty all entire season, and as long as Case Keenum can keep balling well enough, they will be fine. Or if Case Keenum has to come out and Bridgewater comes in, I have the utmost confidence in him as well. The Rams are 4th because, again, they have the best point differential, or at least in the top 2 in the NFL. Goff's been balling out. Gurley's been balling out, who had a great game against the Eagles, who have the best run defense. So that says something. That keeps them in the top 5. Plus, if they beat Seattle, they might move up even more. And Seattle would then, of course, maybe even move out of the top 10, because that would then put them more in a tenuous wild card spot. The Saints are 6th because the Saints have Alvin Kamara as long as he's able to come back this week. And Mark Ingram. They have the best running combination, as far as I'm concerned, among running backs and actually running and not just passing out of the backfield. The Panthers probably have one of the best as well with McCaffrey and Stewart. But they have the best in terms of being able to run the ball and not have a running back combined with a more of a passing back like the Panthers. And also, they got Drew Brees. And Drew Brees is a future Hall of Famer. Yeah, his stats have been slowly declining in recent years, but he's still a beast, and he can still step up when you need him to, and that means something. The Jags, you saw when they played the Seahawks. The Seahawks got so frustrated because the Seahawks were the beast of the East, the Legion of Doom, the Legion of Boom. They were the defense to be in the AFC, and this year the Jags are starting to take over that defense to be role, which really frustrated the Seahawks, which I think is what led to part of that fight in the end, and beating the Seahawks, which are of course a good team this year, led by Russell Wilson, who again threw three fourth quarter touchdowns, which gave him the lead and a record for fourth quarter touchdowns. Congratulations to the man, Russell Wilson. He's a beast. He now probably moves up to 2nd on the MVP charts, with Brady now moving up to 1st with Wentz's injury. As long as those two guys, although Wilson could arguably be 1st now because of Brady's bad game against the Dolphins, as long as those two guys do well, they'll end up surpassing Wentz, who on most people's books is still 1st until those guys surpass him in statistics, which they should be able to do because Carson's out for now. The Panthers are 8 because I keep thinking Cam Newton's going to have to come on at some point, and he came on last game and had a very solid game, but he's been inconsistent all year. He's been a better runner than he has been passer most of the season. But with Cam Newton, he's highly talented. He's a very talented quarterback, and he is going to have to show out and show up and ball out at some point, and I expect that to happen starting next week. And, of course, their defense is also very solid. Seattle was 9th because they're led by that other bad man in Russell Wilson. He is a beast. He just keeps getting it done. He accounts for about 90-something% of their touchdowns. And he, again, almost brought them back last game, but no dice. But we'll see what happens this week. Falcons are 10th because they just keep finding ways to win. One week their defense shows up. The next week Freeman and Coleman show up. The next week Matt Ryan has a good enough game. Matt Ryan had a terrible game last game, and their defense still showed up, balled out, and killed the opponent, and the Falcons got the W. Now, 10th, I'm going to put the Chargers at 10th because I think they're right on the outside looking in terms of the top 10, and they got a chance to beat the Chiefs, and if they beat the Chiefs, they're going to probably be, again, in that top 10 picture. Because the Chargers are a team with Melvin Gordon, Phillip Rivers, who is a future Hall of Famer in my eyes, that they are probably the more dangerous team if they make the playoffs than Kansas City, honestly, because Kansas City's defense has been so freaking inconsistent of late, and the Chargers team has been a lot more consistent of late. Well, those has been the NFL Power Rankings. I think it's going to be interesting this week to see what happens, because, of course, these adjust weekly, and it adjusted a lot this week due to some injuries and due to some upsets. Let's see what happens. Let's go NFL. Let's go. Let's have great games. Peace out, everybody. This has been Sports Fanatic News. I'm Joe Boric. This has been the NFL Power Rankings. that have been great. This has been a great season. This has been a surprising season for some teams. Let's go NFL. Let's go football. Let's get it. Almost playoff time.